What is up, guys? Kowalski here from PolarStar Airsoft. I have another install video for you guys today. I have PolarStar Jack. However, this jack system is different from the previous one as it is compatible with the version 3 gearboxes. So this means all you AK fans, 417 fans, and any other gun that uses a version 3 gearbox will be able to have this installed inside. Main differences between this jack and obviously the M4 version or the 249 version is the trigger switch mechanisms. The trigger board and switch for this is made obviously to be compatible with version 3s. I will be throwing this into a CYMA AK-104 that I picked up a few weeks ago from Patriot Armory down in Middletown, Delaware. Large shout out to Patriot Armory Jeff and the rest of his crew who are there. Fantastic service. I got the jack unit itself a few days ago from PolarStar. This is the first production run of the version 3 compatible systems. So, let's get into it. I'm gonna go ahead and open the box up. As you'll see, I've already removed all of the components from the packaging that it comes in. You have the actual jack unit itself. Have the FCU. You get a cool jack sticker. Here is the actual version 3 trigger switch itself. I will explain what all the ports are for these when I actually show you the install. And of course, your wiring harness and instructions on how to set up the jack system and all the what all the controls mean in the FCU. I also placed an order with Amped, and I got my own IGL in for this. It actually says my name on it, which is pretty cool. So huge shout out to those guys. Always love the Amp grip line stuff, and it comes with a tool, which is helpful to get the fitting that's already on the jack system off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the gearbox out of my AK and take all the components out, and I will let you know which components that you need to keep. Alright guys, so once you pulled your gearbox out of the gun, you can go ahead and take all the components out and basically just split the shells open. For the sake of this video, I've already done all this, remove all the components that I don't need, and clean out the grease because obviously you don't need that. The only two pieces that you will need to keep are your full auto bar here, which obviously connects to your selector plate outside, and the screw that is in front of your electronics here. I believe it is, when you look at the switchboard, it is facing this way, so you can take that out. You can just keep that. It's going to actually keep the trigger board in place inside the gearbox shell. So first I'm going to show you actually how to install the trigger switch itself. It goes down where the full auto bar is. You can kind of just lift that up, and there's a little slot where this will sit in, just like so. And if you can see, there is a hole right here, and that is where that extra screw is going to go in to hold the board in place. So you can go ahead and put that there. Just like that. There should already be a hole there. You don't need to drill anything. Don't over tighten, obviously, because the trigger board is a little bit fragile. So now, as you can see, when I move the full auto selector here, it will actuate the micro switch that is in place on the board. So once you've done that, that's pretty much set. I'm actually going to take the stock hose off of here. I've already loosened it with the tool that Amp provided me, so I can simply just go ahead and unscrew this part. And I will install the Amp IGL. I'll go ahead and give that a little bit of torque. You don't need much. So it's like so. Now, if you do notice, there are two ports on here. besides the one for your wiring harness. The top one is actually where the solenoid is going to plug into, and the bottom one is for other gearboxes that will not use the micro switch for the full auto function. You can get those kits directly from PolarStar, depending on what build you're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the solenoid here real quick. Just line it up and lightly push it in there, and tighten that screw a little bit more. There we go. So it's going to sit in there just like that. And you can go ahead and place jack in its little spot. You can line up the hole in the post that is in the gearbox, like so. And kind of just tuck these wires nicely. Now your wiring harness is actually going to go through the front. There's the hole to where the old wiring used to sit. So this goes in the front and plugs in just like that. You can leave that alone for right now. Now I'm going to move forward and I'm going to install the trigger. Just be careful of the micro switch and just watch how you install it. AK triggers can be a little tricky to get on the first try. Okay, so once you have the trigger back in place, we can go ahead and start to close up the gearbox. Since the AK triggers do like to spring out, just be wary when you're putting the gearbox shell back together. So let's get this all situated. Just make sure that stays aligned. And just like so. Now what you can go ahead and do is actually put your screws back in for your gearbox. And tighten everything up. Alright, so once you have everything tightened down, I'm actually going to pin my wiring harness up and over like so, like the factory wiring would be. My gearbox has this sleeve that goes over top. If yours has it, you can do the same. kind of just feed everything through it. This is actually how PolarStar designed this to work. So there you go. I want to give it a quick functionality test. I'm going to throw in the FCU here, attach the battery, the solenoids are clicking. That's good enough for me. Okay, so now that you have this pretty much all set, you're still going to have to attach where your motor used to go. Now, if you're running just the stock line like this, the small gap that is over here on the motor cage will fit this line, and it won't actually go outside of it. Whereas with the Amped IGL, I decided to cut a bigger window here in order to fit it nicely in the center, so then I can feed it out and down through the pistol grip. So I'm going to go ahead and attach this. Okay. Now, last step after you put the motor cage back on is to run the selector components from one side to the other. So you can go ahead and put those back in. Align the parts correctly. And go ahead and tighten that screw down. Alright guys, so there you have it. Once you put your selector components back together, you can now put your gearbox back into your AK or whatever body that you took your gearbox out of. In addition to the line that's running down here, if you get the amped integrated line like I did, you are going to have to make your hole a little bit bigger for your pistol grip. I used a 11/32 drill bit and then wind it even more with a Dremel burr bit, and it fits perfectly through there. It's not going to cause any issues. If you're going to use the regular line, the 11/32 drill bit will fit everything perfectly. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them below. You can also reach us on Facebook at PolarStar Airsoft or on our website at PolarStarAirsoft.com. I will be running this system next week at OXCC, our home field in Chesapeake, Maryland. We run the games there. It's been great. We have a lot of new exciting things coming to OXCC, so we're looking forward to that. But until then, Kowalski out.